It's setting up. It's getting there. Come on. Okay. Okay, it's on. And okay, so again, everybody who's watching now, either on Zoom or in the live stream, in Lev Shalem, we're on page 10. In the Shabbat Sim Shalom, we're on page 14. Yedi nefesh av harachaman meshoch avdach el retzonach Yarutz avdach kermo ayal yishtachaver mul hadarach ki yeravlo yedidutach minofet suf vechol tam Adonai Ziv Haolam Nafshi Cholat Ahavatach Ana Elna Refana La Beharot La Noam Zivach אז תתחזק ותתרפא והייתה לך שפחת עולם ותקיימו רחמך וחוסנה על בן אוהבך כי זה כמה נחשף לראות בתפארת עוזך אנא אלי מחמד ליבי חושנה ואל תתעלם Galena ufros chaviv alai et sukat shelomach ta'ir eretz mikvodach nagila v'nismecha bach Maher ahuv kiva moed v'choneni kimei olam la 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 Lechu neranina ladonai nari aletzur yishenu nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nari alo nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nari alo Ki el gadol Adonai umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher beyado mechkerei aretz v'toafot harim lo asher beyado mechkerei aretz v'toafot harim lo Asher lo hayam v'asal v'yabashir avtzal bo nishach v'nechal v'chal v'chal seinu ki Eloheinu anachnu amarta v'tzon yadol v'chal v'yishmaru al takshilu v'chem v'yachnu masavim v'yashnu v'yachnu Arbaim shana kut bedor v'omar am toei levavim vehem lo yadu derachai asher nishbati ve'api im yavon el menuchati 13 and lev shalem 16 and sim shalom Shiru ladonai shir chadash Shiru ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru ladonai baruch shemo, basru miyom leyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo bechol ha'amim nifleotav ki gadol Adonai, umehulal meod. No Rahu Al Kol Elohim ay Ki Kol Elohe Ha'amim Elilim Va'adonai Shamayim Asa Hod V'Hadar Lefanav Ozveti Feret B'Mikdasho Havu Ladonai Mishpachot Amim Havu Ladonai kavod vos, havu Ladonai kevod shemo, seu mincha, uva'u lechatzrotav, ishtachavu Ladonai behadrat kodesh, Hilu mipanav kol haaretz, Imru vagoyim Adonai malach, Aftikon tevel baltimot, Yadin amim b'mei sharim, Yismechu hashamayim, Betagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, Umlo, Yalo sadai, V'chol asher bo ziranenu kol atzeyar lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel betzedek ve'yamim be'emunato lai Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Adonai malach tagel haaretz. Yismechu im rabim anon vartel svivav tzedek u'mishpat. Mechon kiso eshokanav tilech v'leitza b'tov. Yevoshu kol avei pesach hamitalim berizim yishachavu lo kol yishachavu. Yat Adonai Adonai Ohave Adonai sin ura shomer nafshot chasidav miyad reshaim yatzilei or zaru alat tzadik ulishrelev simcha simchu tzadikim badonai v'hodu lezecher kodsho Mizmor Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Kini Plot Asa Hoshia Lo Yemino Uzero Akod Shohodia Adonai Yeshuato Le'enei Hagoyim Gilatzit Kato Zachar Chasto Ve'emunato Leveit Israel Ra'u Cholav Se'aretz Et Yeshuat Eloheinu Hariu Ladonai Kol Haaretz Pitzchu v'ranenu v'zameru zamru ladonai bechinor v'kol zimra v'chatzotzot v'kol shofar hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai yiram hayam umlo tevel v'yoshvei Narotim chauchav Yachad harim yeranenu lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek ve'yamim b'meisharim lai 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 la 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 Adonai Malach Higazu Amin. We're on page 19 in Sim Shalom, 19 and 20 in Lev Shalom. Okay, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. The next page, we rise if we can. Mizmor le David Havul Adonai b'nei Eli Havul Adonai kavod va'oz Havul Adonai kevod shemo Hishtachavul Adonai behadra kodesh Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim Adonai al mayim rabim Kol Adonai ba'koach Kol Adonai behadar Kol Adonai shaver arazim vayeshaber Adonai et arzei alvanom Vayarkidem kemo engel Levanon desirion kemo ven re'emim Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh Kol Adonai yachil Adonai midbar kadesh Kol Adonai yachol elayalot Vayechasof Yarot Uvein Chalo Kulo Omer Kavod Kulo Omer Kavod Adonai Lama Bu Yashav Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Oz Leamo Yitain Adonai Yivarech et Amo v'Shalom. May be seated. We continue with Lecha Dodi in Lev Shalom 23 to 25, in Sim Shalom 21 and 22. Lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu Ela meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad Hashem u'tiferet Ve'elitila lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor Haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh B'machshavat tchila lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzei Mitocha hafecha rav lach shevet V'yei mekabacha v'hu yachamo Alayichem la lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Hina ari me'afar kumi livshi bigdei Tifartecha mi al yad ben Yishai Beit alach mi kava el nafshi ge'ala Lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri kiva orech Kumi uri Shir daberi kevod Adonai Alayich nigla lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lo tevoshi velo tikal mi mati shtochachi umatemi bach yechestu ani ami venivneta Ir altila lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela V'hayulim shisa shosayich v'rachaku kol Mevalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimsos chatan al kala lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Yaminu smol tifrotzi ve'et Adonai ta'aritzi al yadish ben partzi ve'nismecha Venagila lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzohala toch emunei am segula boi chala lecha dodi likra kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela. May be seated. We continue on page 27 and Lev Shalem 23 and Sim Shalom. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer leshimcha elyon elyon lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha baleilot Alei asor v'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor, mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, elyon. Yismachtan yadonai b'chol lecha b'maseh lecha amen. Kine v'chadonai, kine v'chayadevi, padito palei Tzadikat amar yifrach, Ke'erez balavanon Yiskeshetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvon Beseva Teshenim Verananim Yiyu Lehagid Ki Ashar Adonai Suri Velo Avlatabo Adonai Malach Yulavesh Lavesh Adonai Osi Bazak Rabba my Rambi Madhu Mishpay Amadu Ramadan Eidotechanem numeot leveit chanav hakodesh Adonai leorech yamim la 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 la. Mourners and those observing yahrzeit rise for Kaddish, found on page 30 in Lev Shalem, 24 in Sim Shalom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon of yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv imru amen, yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ol maya, Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yidhadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei v'kudesha b'richu, Va'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata b'nechemata da'amiram b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. So we turn to the back of our Sidurim for the selection from Pirkei Avot that we'll look at today, and page 237 in the Lev Shalem, 259 in the Sim Shalom. We're up to the statement of Shammai, which is chapter 1, number 15. So the middle of the page on 237, middle of the page on 259, number 15. So Hillel and Shammai were the main rabbis of their generation, at least according to Pirkei Avot and the order of the generations. And we read a few statements from Hillel the past several weeks, and now we're up to Shammai. So in rabbinic literature itself, Hillel and Shammai are and their schools of thought, because it's also Beit Hillel, the house of Hillel, and Beit Shammai, the house of Shammai, that we learn about in the Mishnah and are further studied in the Talmud. That their schools of thought of how they understood Jewish law and how they interpreted Jewish law. Hillel tends to be more progressive in his approach and more understanding to the average Jew and where the average Jew is coming from. And Shammai has a more literal approach and also sets the bar high for people so that it almost seems as if he is being not inclusive in just his attitude towards interpretation of Jewish law. So that's just the background. Hillel's seen as the everyman's rabbi, and Shammai seen as the has this attitude of non-inclusivity. And so then with that background, we see number 15. Shammai used to say, Aseh Toratcha Keva, make your Torah regular. That is, find a fixed time to study. Emor Ma'at Va'aseh Harbe, say little but do much. Again, two statements that would make total sense to anybody. Anybody could say this, that find time to study Torah in order for spiritual rejuvenation and commitment to Judaism. Say little, do much. I think we could all agree with that statement as well, right? Don't talk the talk, but walk the walk, whatever these modern statements are, that it's better to actually do something than talk about doing it, especially, just talking about highest refugee Shabbat. It's one thing to have acknowledge that Shabbat, but the challenge is to do something about it. The Heve Mekabel et Kol Ha'adam, the Sever Panim Yafot, and greet every person with a cheerful face or a cheerful countenance. And this, based on the background I just said, is always the clincher for me that we can't judge Shammai based on his approach to Jewish law, which seems non-inclusive, because he says this line, receive everyone with a cheerful face. So a man who projects an unwelcoming sense about him says how important it is to be cheerful to everyone. And so I think that here, these three statements if you find time to regularly study Torah, if you do always do good rather than talking about doing good, and if you're cheerful to everyone, then that's essentially the basic foundation of being a moral and ethical person. And so I think it's a beautiful statement from Shammai that is really at the heart of everything that we do Jewishly today. And especially in light of the spirit of Shabbat, that when the Torah says 36 times to remember the stranger because we were strangers in Egypt, receiving everyone with a cheerful countenance is broadened to the idea that every human being deserves a chance, deserves a chance of justice and freedom and happiness, and we have the responsibility to try to make that happen. So we turn back in our prayer book, mourners and those observing Yartzeit rise for the special Kaddish, the Rabbi's Kaddish, Kaddish de Rabbanan, which is found in the Lev Shalem on page 38 and in the Sim Shalom on page 27. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, the Almighty Brach, Hirutei V'Yamlich Malchutei, V'chayachon of Yomechon, V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'adalav Izman Karivim Ruamin, Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'Me'omaya, Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitba'ar V'Yitroman V'Yitnasei, V'Yithadar V'Yitalev V'Yitalal Shemei D'Kudusha B'Richu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tishbechata V'Nechemata, Tamiran D'Alma V'Imru Amen. Al Yisrael V'Al Rabbanan V'Al Talmidei V'Al Kol Talmidei V'Al Kol Man De'oskim V'Oraita Divyatra Hadein V'Divachol Atar V'Atar Yehei Lahon Ulachon Shlomo Rabbah China V'Chista V'Rachamim V'Chayin Arichin V'Mezona Revicha Ufor Kana Min Kadam Avuhon Divishmaya V'Imru Amen Yehei Shlomo Rabbah Min Shemaya V'Chaim Tovim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen Avseh Shalom B'Ramav U'Brachamav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. We all rise if we can. The next page for Baruch Hu. Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach. Leolam va'ed. May be seated. Baruch at Adonai. Eloheinu melech olam. Asher b'rom v'rom Ma'avir yom mevi laila, ma'avdil ben yom ve'en laila, Adonai tzvot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chaleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, hamari v'aravim, ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shochveinu v'kumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, Leolam va'ed, ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negeh yomam v'layla, Ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem V'Tolam V'Ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele. Asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibart tabam veshivtecha beveitecha uvelechtecha vaderech uveshachbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchetavtam Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. We continue silently through page 42 in Lev Shalem, through page 31 in Sim Shalom. Adonai Elohechem emet ve'emunah kol zod ve'kayam aleinu kiram aleinu aleinu zod tov v'nsev Shem v'molchoi ve'nafshenu v'zeh Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael achanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh nora tehilot osefele malchutcha ra'u vanecha Bokeh Yam Lifnei Moshe, Zeli Anu V'Yamru, Adonai Yimloch Leolam Va'ed, V'nemar Kifad Adonai Yaakov, Ugealo Miyad Chazak Mimenu, Baruch Ata Adonai, Kal Yisrael. Page 45 in Lev Shalem, 33 in Sim Shalom. Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us, remove us from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Ushmor tzeiteinu voenu l'chaim l'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We on the next page, we rise if we can for Vishamru. Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asod et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yalman divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagala uv'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam olam me'omaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yidhadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamiran b'alma v'yimeru amen. We read the Amida in Lev Shalem, pages 47 to 52, in Sim Shalom, pages 35 to 38. As we conclude our private prayers, we continue on page 53 in Lev Shalem, 47 in Sim Shalom. Vayechulu Hashemayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am, vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayivarech Elohim in yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto, kivo shavad mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Konei Shamayim V'Aretz, Magen Avot Bidvaro, Mechaye Meitim B'Mamaro, Ha'el HaKadosh She'en Kamohu, Hameniach Le'amo, B'Yom Shabbat Kodsho, Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Lefanav Navod B'Yira V'Fachad, V'Noder Lishmo B'Chol Yom Tamid, Me'on HaBrachot, El HaHodaot, Adon HaShalom, Mekadesh HaShabbat, Mevarech Shevi, Umeniach B'Kedusha, Le'amedu Shnei Oneg, Zecher Lemase V'Reishit. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Ritzevim Nuchatenu, Kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkenu b'toratecha, Sabenu mituvecha v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'taher libenu l'avdecha be'emet, v'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu b'yavav ratzon shabbat kodshecha, v'yanuchu v'Yisrael mekadeshei shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-shabbat, Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, V'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachonu v'yomechonu v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav yizman kari v'imeru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, v'yolam olol me'omaya, Yiparach v'yishtabach, v'yipar v'yituram v'yitnasei, v'yihadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha b'richu, Le'elam mikol birchata v'shirata, tishbachata v'nechamata, Tamiran b'alma v'imeru, Amen. Tika bel tzlahon v'othon b'cho Yisrael kadam avahon divishemaya v'imeru, Amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'el kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'el kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen. But before we continue with Kiddush, and Julian is going to lead us momentarily, I just want to share this prayer from Hayas by Rabbi Rachel Grant Meyer, who is the rabbi in residence of Hayas. We lift this cup with words remembering our ancestors' exodus from Egypt on our lips, Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim. As we recall that ancient journey from slavery to freedom, we think also the many times throughout history that our people have wandered in search of safety. From Tsarist Russia to the horrors of the Holocaust, to persecution in Iran, the former Soviet Union, Cuba, Ethiopia, and beyond, time and time again, we have found ourselves forced out of our homelands for being who we are. But each time, we were held together by community and assisted by those who risked their safety and protection of ours. We continued to survive against all odds as our hearts grew to hold others who had come to experience what we had. We fill our Kiddush cup to overflowing, hoping that the joy of Shabbat will spread into the week to come. And so it is as we welcome refugees and asylum seekers into our communities today. Recalling our exodus from Egypt, the Torah tells us, you know the soul of the stranger. While our responsibility to protect the rights of refugees and asylum seekers does not derive from our experience in Egypt. That experience does amplify our obligation to welcome. May our commitment to welcome fill to overflowing, just as our Kiddush cup does, leading us to take bold action in support of refugees and asylum seekers from every corner of the earth. Just as the Jewish people have thrived, so too do today's refugees of all faiths and ethnicities thrive as they rebuild their lives and become part of their new communities. We lift this cup with the words, remembering the ingenuity of creation on our lips, Zikaron Lama'aseh Bereshit. We continue creating and repairing the world as we build our communities on the collective strength of each individual, remembering that we are stronger and strongest when we come together. Julian, unmute yourself and lead us in Kiddush on page 55 and Lev Shalem 49 and Sim Shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho b'yavav v'ratzon, inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, Yahavaru Ratzon Inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Yashakoach, Julian. We remain standing if we can. We remain standing if we can for Aleinu on the next page, on 56 in Lev Shalem, 51 in Sim Shalom. Aleinu leshabeach ladonako, late kedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, Vanachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shema Teshema Shalom Bet, Al Kein Kavelchan Eloheinu. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi ol me'atim loch bechavod, kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo Ushemo Echad. Mourner's Kaddish is on the next page. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman karivim ru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ol me'ol maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shloma rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Just a couple quick announcements. Again, Yashikov to Julian for leading us in Kiddush tonight. And tomorrow morning, the service will be at 9:30 as usual. And we will continue with the theme of Refugee Shabbat, where Naomi Yadin Mendick and David Mendick's daughter, Mira, who is the refugee resettlement, remote placement specialist for refugee resettlement with the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. She'll talk about her work, how she got involved in that work, the kind of work that she does, and there'll be time for questions and answers afterward as well. So she'll speak after the service is over, before we do Kiddush tomorrow. So that'll be the time frame tomorrow for her. And then tomorrow night, you saw as well the opportunity to join Hayas for their national Havdalah tomorrow evening. We'll have our own Havdalah, evening service and Havdalah at 6:50, but at 8 o'clock, you can register for free to join the Hayas Havdalah program, which it'll feature a husband and wife rabbi team who are in Philadelphia, who have beautiful voices, who will be part of the service tomorrow night. Sunday, don't forget, it's Makers and Bakers with Mara, with macaroons for Passover. So it's not too late to sign up for that. There's an Eventbrite sign up. Just go to the shul calendar page, look for Sunday at 4 o'clock, and you'll see, just put your cursor on that blue 4 o'clock on Sunday. The event will come up, and you can, the link is there to register.
And mandel bread.
What's that? And there's a mandel bread too, Stuart?
It's happening.
Stuart's going to be going through his recipe for mandel bread.
Right.
Isn't that wonderful? We get Goldie's mandel bread and we got Mara's macaroons. So that'll be great. That should be a lot of fun on Sunday afternoon. Part of the recipes that we do for Passover, they're legacy recipes, right? So that when we cook for the holidays, we remember the people who gave us these recipes, and whether they're with us or they're not, it's a way to keep their memory alive. So that's it's a wonderful thing. And one last thing I do want to point out is Monday evening, the American Jewish Committee, or they also go by AJC now instead of their full name, is going to be leading a program for us. It'll be for us and for Beth Shalom in Columbia at 8 o'clock, about talking about their recent study of the American community, not just the Jewish community, but the American community, on perspectives on anti-Semitism. So you need to sign up there to get the Zoom link for that, because that's an AJC program that we are sponsoring. So everything else is in the Daf HaShavua that came out as it always does on Thursday. All other programs are listed in there that are coming up for the next couple of weeks. We conclude the service with Yigdal, page 62 in Lev Shalem, 53 in Sim Shalom. Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimtza v'yenei tel metziuto echad v'yen yachid ke'yichudo ne'lam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf ve'eino guf lo na'aroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon v'yen reshit le'reshito Hino Adon Olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato u'malchuto shefa nevuato netano el anshe segulato v'tifarto lo kam b'Yisrael kemo she'od naviu ma'abit et emunato Torah menatan le'amoel Al Yad Nevio Neman Beito Lo yachal yifael velo yamir dato leolamim lezulato. Sof heviodea setarenu mabit lesof davar bekadmato. Gomer leish chesed kemifalo noten lerasha ra kirishato. Yishlach leketz yamin meshichenu Lifto mechake ketz Yeshuato. Meitim yachayel berov chasto. Baruch adei shem tehilato. Meitim yachayel berov chasto. Baruch adei shem tehilato. Shabbat shalom, everyone. You can unmute yourselves.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Nice crowd tonight.
Yes.
Nice
Very
way to
nice.
spend Shabbat together.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Shabbat shalom. Oh, I'm glad did you enjoy that?
Very nice.
Thank you. Very
Shabbat
much.
shalom.